So if you did not know, companies and individuals can actually contribute to a president-elect's inaugural committee. So basically, if you don't know, when a president gets elected, they host a bunch of events. They host like a dinner. They host multiple events throughout kind of the day of inauguration, the day before, and the day after, basically celebrating the transition and their newfound status as president and vice president. So one thing that we had found through our research was that Toyota, Ford, and General Motors all have planned or have donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural committee. This is along with companies like Amazon, Meta, OpenAI. Uber is donating $2 million towards the inauguration. Some donations are coming from the company CEOs rather than the company itself. This includes Apple CEO Tim Cook, who is delivering $1 million personally. Trump's inaugural committee has raised over 170 million. Other corporate donors include Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, AT&T, Microsoft, Spectrum. There will be a plethora of corporate CEOs in attendance. Of course, Elon Musk, who gave Trump over $250 million and weaponized Twitter to help him win, along with Amazon chairman Jeff Bezos and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, all plan on attending. One person who is now leading the resistance who does not plan on attending is the great Michelle Obama. Henry, I'll start with you because you were kind of the one who put this topic on our radar. What is it? First off, how do you feel that these companies and brands that we use every single day are not only just supporting Trump, but supporting Trump to the tune of seven figures?
That part. It's just like again a black man. How do you resist? Like in with the greatest time period for black people, civil rights. I feel like because that's when we really band together and like fought for our rights, and then we weren't too comfortable. Um, we it's hard to protest or put a national protest on major conglomerate companies that literally control our life. You know, like I can't use a cell phone. I can't use a computer. I can't go to work. I can't ride share. Um, Shit, I barely can drive a car. So it's like if we can't go to Bella Noches, where can we go? Like, how can we protest or actively stand up for ourselves? And you know how black people always say, take back your dollar, reinvest it into your community, so on and so forth. Like, what's the realism of that? Especially going into this next, what, 4 years that are gonna turn into like 4 decades, uh, because he's gonna just put some things in place, or at least wreck them up enough to where it's gonna just take us back a little bit. We already see the DEI affecting not just schools, but major companies. So that's gonna play into our livelihood and our well-beings and obtaining wealth and buying homes and so on and so forth. And it just becomes a real question as a black man. How do you legitimately navigate? Well, for me as a black man, excuse me, how do you navigate standing up like toward like you have morals and values. I have morals and values that I believe in, but these people clearly don't give a F about, you know? It's like a like bro, like, what kind of world is this for real?
Mackenzie, the thing to ask you is what does for these companies, especially given that you're in media, what does actually accountability look like? Or is that even obtainable to Henry's question?
I feel like accountability for these type of companies, I don't even know what it is because my question really is like, what am I missing? Like, why? No, because why also to donate money? And also, I think not even on like racism and all of that that goes behind Trump.
Mhm.
Um, it's I feel like there's something behind this tech move, this like AI technology, crypto. He's like really leaning into this stuff. And I'm just wondering like what am I missing? Because I really don't understand, especially and then on top of the DEI programs rolling back. Like I'm just like, why? Like why are we so against this? So when you ask like what are how can you hold these companies accountable? I don't even know because it's so ingrained to the point our companies are doing this. Like the places some
Yeah.
places that we work are also rolling back these
Mhm.
programs. I don't even know because I'm just like I don't understand the why because I don't like to believe that it's just solely
It, it is literally capitalism and racism, my darling. Or and you can throw well, yeah, capitalism.
I don't like to
I
believe
think
it's
it's just
just
capitalism. I think
racism.
it's just
They don't want
capitalism. I,
yeah.
I think
It
it's
has
just
to be more about
it's
money.
cynical. Or
No, it's
rather, I
all about money, but within money rolls rate other issues.
Well, I
yes, but
say
yeah.
that though
Mhm.
because with so Mark Zuckerberg rolled back those programs, and the person who was over that program was a black woman, but he kept her. And the other people, I mean, I guess they always say this, they're gonna reassign them, but say that they do get reassigned, so you're keeping the same people. What it like something else? I don't
But
know.
that goes to kind of what Noah was saying the other day when we were kind of having our private chat of the strategic plan and push behind
Mhm.
defranchising the ideal of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because on the more liberal democratic side, they're pushing for this amount of equality, and then this person has to get this amount of funding, all of these things, versus like on this more conservative side where it's kind of everybody fights for themselves, and in their head that creates more equality because then you don't have barriers, air quote, in place that give certain people advantages, which they're fighting races, not race, they're fighting it backwards in my head because it's like, well, we put these things in place because X, Y, and Z were happening. And now that these things are in place, you're arguing the backwards argument of, well, these things are in place, so it's excluding X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I
And
get what
then when you
Yeah,
place
I see
all
what
of
you're
that
saying. Yeah.
into capitalism, who runs these companies for real?
I mean, the funny thing is that I think a part of it is that I think it just shows kind of like the lack of seriousness that like corporate America has, like actually at its core, where like these people don't actually believe anything. They're just going to where they're going. They're literally following the hot hand. So it's like if Biden's up, okay, George Floyd's died. We actually see a market value in doing DEI stuff post George Floyd because we know that that's where the market currently is demanding us be. So Target, we're going to have these commercials. Hey, we're going to do all this stuff. We're going to announce these commitments because we actually see that that is not only where like the culture is. We don't care about that. That's where actually like the culture is influencing the market at this point. So they were trying to, I think, get ahead of that. Now that Trump is in, now they're saying, okay, hey, the culture is now shifting away from that. And that can actually, because we did that, that can actually impact our bottom line. And now we're a target. So we never cared about this in the first place. So this is no problem for us
Stop
to just
mentioning
dump
that
some.
name because I'm named in a lawsuit with them and I ain't got no time.
Wait.
We'll edit that. I'm not editing. I'm not
Wait.
editing that out. I'm not editing that out.
Oh
Uh,
gosh, you are so crazy.
that's great. I apologize.
But speaking of DEI,
No, but and like, but to me, I think that's the problem is that like Mark Zuckerberg and all these other people, even if they like say like, hey, these are like our quote, like they have no consistency. They're basically going to wherever they think the honey is. The honey could be on the first floor one day and they're going to run down there. If it could be on the penthouse, they're going to run up there only because they think like that's where we need to be to maximize profit. And I think now they're just clearly realizing that like they probably don't, they might not like Trump. They might, but I think it says like all of this other stuff, they're willing to tolerate a lot and go to places they're not comfortable going to that sometimes do benefit us, but a lot of other times do not because the only thing they're focused on is how do I raise my stock price? How do I maximize profits? How do I get more bonuses for me and our corporate board? They don't care about any of this shit. Like it's actually to me like the funny thing. And I think
until it
what I
becomes personal, until it becomes personal. And I think that's where that's the like where you know how they argue the middle class is starting to disappear.
yeah, you're either going up or you're going down. There's no
And
yeah.
I think that's the disconnect largely across the span, if I'm being realistic, because like we're all in the middle class and we know we're at most of our goals is to kind of inch higher. And most of like we've seen those people that have graduated from Howard and got those big jobs and worked and kind of culminated a life for themselves, and they become out of touch a bit,
Mhm.
and they forget the struggles that they endured to get to that place. Um, and we argue this about black celebrities and that those statuses of people who like they put up a face front of this like idea of who they want to be, but then how did you actually vote? How much are you actually giving back to the community and funding these like initiatives to level out the playing field? Because at the end of the day, like capitalism rules it all. Like when it comes to access to education, access to healthcare, access to just a better life and opportunity, you need money to do that, especially here in America. So if they can lock and it kind of goes back to controlling people. Instead of us being in a plantation, we're now in these damn companies making them money and occupying these roles. Like the American dream was all a facade for your ass to work harder. Just like that's the truth.
Yeah,
Like
I
that's
mean,
the truth.
and like the funny thing is, I would love for someone to do this just because I think it would actually be funny. But one, like corporations don't really get held to this level of account anymore because they don't do really like hard interviews. I would love for someone during February when either a company, let's just say Uber, I'm not gonna out Henry again. Let's say Uber has an ad where they're doing something, which is like totally legit. A lot of companies now that February's around the corner are going to have Black History Month and celebratory ads celebrating us and the culture. I really wish somebody would. I mean, you know how this works, Mackenzie. Someone from a journalist sends the PR team or sends the corporate communications team saying, "Hey, we're going to do this interview. We'd love a quote for this." I think more companies need to be like, "Hey, you just ran an ad on this. How does that backdrop against you giving him $2 million? Like, where does that? How
No
are those two
comment.
things?"
No comment.
But I mean, that's still on record. You're choosing to not comment. That's still a statement. If you're choosing
But then
not to
the
say anything,
realistic question for me, my question then for both of y'all would be like, okay, we see that they don't give a, but let's say, you have a journalist that's so eager and bold enough to, send the CEO or the CMO or, somebody on the executive suite, C-suite level, reach out, say, hey, we see you all marketing, pandering toward Black people. Why did you just cut DEI efforts? They say no comment. You still gonna shop at Walmart? So like,
yes,
what's the
no.
point?
However,
Like,
however,
what's the
however, the
point?
same thing has worked for the companies that cut it. There were conservatives who were reaching out, constantly reaching out to companies like Bush and saying, "Hey, you have a gay couple drinking your beer." Did that necessarily stop Republicans from drinking Bush? No, but they kept hitting it and hitting it and hitting it and hitting it over and over again until Bush just said, "We don't even want to deal with this anymore." With the given the fact that it might actually impact us, and they just said, "Well, cut it anyway." So I don't think it necessarily has to be like our dollar, but I do think you can generate enough kind of pressure. That's the same thing with the George Floyd stuff. It wasn't like
Well, I
culturally they
guess that's
clearly
the
saw that's where
thing
they
that I
needed to
know
go.
about Black people, and I'm sorry to say it, but we don't like we're
I
just
think
so
we can get there for the right thing. It just has to be the right
that's what I'm
thing.
saying, but I didn't know
It
how
has
to
to
say
be
it
the
so
right.
things. But unless it's a George Floyd situation, 9 times out of 10, and even then, it's like I'm not saying half commit, but we'll be riled up for a while.